عذرا بيروت.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Yuma Naufal. These are today's headlines. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif holds a joint news conference with Gibran Bassil where he urges cooperation between Arab nations to fight extremism. Nabi Habiri adjourns a fresh attempt to hold a presidential election until September. And at least 31 civilians killed, 120 injured in Syrian government airstrikes on eastern Ghouta. Good afternoon to all our viewers. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif held a joint news conference with Lebanon's Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil, where he said Iran supports its Arab neighbors. Urging cooperation to fight extremism, Zarif said Iran rejected any foreign interference in Lebanon's domestic affairs. Bassil, on his side, said Lebanon and Iran should work on boosting economic cooperation and trade as the West eases economic sanctions. He also expressed hope that the nuclear deal will allow Iran to invest in the Lebanese energy sector and encourage Lebanese businessmen to do the same. Zarif also praised Lebanon as a role model and a symbol of dialogue that served as an inspiration during the nuclear talks with world powers. Zarif said that Israel was the ultimate loser of the Iranian nuclear deal during also a meeting with Palestinian officials. Parliament Speaker Nabi Habiri has adjourned a fresh attempt to hold a presidential election session to September 2nd over lack of quorum. Lawmakers have failed up till now in 27 consecutive sessions to elect a successor to former President Michel Sleiman, whose term ended on May 25th of last year. Lawmakers from MP Michel Aoun's Parliamentary Change and Reform Bloc and Hezbollah's MPs have thwarted quorum since April 2014 by boycotting parliamentary sessions. The first election in May 2014 achieved quorum, but no candidate received enough voices or votes to win. So Free Patriotic Movement supporters are taking to the streets as we speak following a call by MP Michel Aoun to demonstrate against the extension of the mandate of top military officers in an attempt to put pressure on the government of Prime Minister Tamam Salam. The FPM members are expected to hold motorized protest whose starting points are set at the Mirna Shalouhi Center on the Sin el-Fil Jdeidi Boulevard and other areas in the country as well. The protesters started gathering at 4 p.m. and will tour various areas by car, waving the movement's orange flag. A recent decision by Defense Minister Samir Mikbil to extend the terms of 3 top military officials angered Aoun, who has been for months now campaigning for the appointment of new army and security chiefs. Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnou stressed that demonstrations and other forms of democratic expression are a right reserved by the Constitution, according to As-Safir newspaper, in anticipation to the protest by the supporters of the Free Patriotic Movement. The minister told the As-Safir Daily, any lawful democratic action is allowed as long as it does not cause any problem of security unrest. FPM chief MP Michel Aoun announced on Tuesday that his supporters will be holding protests against the extension of the terms of top military officers. Security and military forces have since reinforced their measures in downtown Beirut and at other state institutions ahead of the demonstrations. At least 31 civilians killed and 120 injured in Syrian government airstrikes on eastern Ghouta near Damascus as a barrage of at least 50 deadly rebel rocket fire hit the capital. The air raids hit the towns of Douma, Sakba, Kafr, Batna and Hamouriye in eastern Ghouta, a rebel stronghold region outside of the capital. The strikes come as rebels fire dozens of rockets into Damascus. The government regularly carries out airstrikes against rebel-held areas on the outskirts of Damascus, particularly eastern Ghouta, where it is also under regime siege. More than 240,000 people have been killed in Syria's conflict since it broke out in March 2011, and millions have been forced to flee their homes. The Islamic State group claims to have beheaded a Croatian hostage abducted in Egypt, posting a purported picture of the victim's body on ISIS-affiliated Twitter accounts. The Croat, named Tomislav Salopek, was abducted last month west of Cairo. The jihadist had issued a 48-hour deadline that ended last Friday, threatening to kill him if Muslim women prisoners were not released from Egyptian jails. The picture's authenticity could not be immediately verified. However, his abduction and killing were unprecedented in Egypt, which is battling the ISIS insurgency in the eastern Sinai Peninsula. Salopek, a father of two, and have been working with French geoscience company CGG, when abducted from a car roughly 22 kilometers west of Cairo. The abductions, of course, rattled foreigners working for multinational companies and underscored the jihadists' reach despite a massive military campaign against ISIS. Coming up next, Kurdish pop singer Heli Love urges people to stand up to ISIS in her new song, Revolution. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the 4:20 o'clock news here on Future Television. A suspected U.S. drone strike kills 5 presumed members of al-Qaeda in the extremist network's southeastern Yemeni stronghold. A local official said that an unmanned aircraft fired a missile against al-Qaeda vehicle in Mukalla, capital of the vast desert Hadramaut province, killing 5 suspected militants. He was unable to provide further details or identify the suspects. The United States is known to operate armed drones over Yemen, and attacks by the unmanned aircraft have continued during months of clashes between pro- and anti-government forces and airstrikes from a Saudi-led coalition. Witnesses in the port city said that more than 200,000 have recently reported an increased deployment of Cape militants who have set up security checkpoints across Mukalla, one of their territorial gains, which they seized in April. The International Organization for Migration says around 60 migrants are missing in waters off of Libya. An Italian corvette called the Venice picked up dozens of migrants aboard a sinking rubber dinghy yesterday after the vessel was spotted by a naval helicopter. 54 were brought to the Italian island of Lampedusa, but testimony from survivors showed the craft had set off with between 117 and 120 people on board, all of them from sub-Saharan Africa. Over 30 of the passengers were women, but there were no children. Iraq's parliament has unanimously approved Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi's reform program aimed at curbing the corruption and government waste that sparked widespread anger and weeks of protests. Abadi had proposed a series of measures to combat graft, streamline the government, and improve services after the protest, and a call for drastic change from Iraq's top Imam, Grand Ayatollah Ali As-Sistani. Abadi issued a statement congratulating the Iraqi people on the passage of the plan and pledging to continue the path of reform, even if it costs more life. The premier also called in another statement for the country's anti-corruption body to present the names of those suspected of wrongdoing so they can be prevented from leaving the country, and referred to the judiciary. Republican presidential candidates Donald Trump and Jeb Bush both delivered speeches to state their cases for why they should be the next president of the United States. Trump spoke for 50 minutes to more than 2,000 people at a Republican fundraising dinner in Birch Run, Michigan. It was his first public appearance since the first GOP primary debate and his first appearance as a presidential candidate in Michigan. He told reporters he would announce policy specifics over the next 2 weeks, and Jeb Bush spoke as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And if it weren't for me, the words illegal immigrant wouldn't be spoken right now. I really believe that. I really believe it. We have heads being chopped off because they're Christian in the Middle East. We have borders where people are being killed all of. The world is cracking up, and they're worried about my tone. I should be toned down.
Want to run as a Republican? That's what I'm doing. I'm leading in every poll.
ISIS grew while the United States disengaged from the Middle East and ignored the threat. And where was the Secretary of State? Where was Secretary of State Clinton in all of this? Like the president himself, she had opposed the surge, then joined in claiming credit for its success. then stood by as that hard-won victory by American and Allied forces was thrown away. In all of her record-setting travels, she stopped by Iraq exactly once.
Standing atop a tank, Kurdish pop singer Heli Love urges people to stand up in her new song, Revolution. Love is 26 years old, and her real name is Helen Abdullah. Says her latest single was inspired by Kurdish fighters battling ISIS. The video was filmed on the front line of Kurdish Peshmerga fighters battling Islamic State militants in Khazar area in the Iraq Kurdish city of Dahuk.
United, united, we're marching, yeah.
Revolution was inspired by the real events happening here. I was in Kurdistan and I saw how normal people, they would just get up and take any kind of weapon and go to the battlefield and fight against this powerful, dangerous terrorist group in the whole world. And that inspired me because these are just regular people, they're not army trained. So I felt like I wanted to take a part in the fight as well, but I feel as an artist, my weapon is not the weapon, my weapon is my music. Well, we were actually 2.5 kilometers away from ISIS, and every day going to the location, we just had to pray that we would come back safely, because some days we were there shooting and the camera just said action, and right away you just see like bullets flying, and Peshmerga would tell us to go, you need to leave, it's too dangerous.
Marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif holds a joint news conference with Gibran Bassil and urges his cooperation between Arab nations to fight extremism. Nabih Berri adjourns a fresh attempt to hold a presidential election until September. And at least 31 civilians killed, 120 injured in Syrian government airstrikes on eastern Ghouta. Those are your Wednesday headlines live on Future Television. Make sure to catch Linda Tamim tomorrow at 4:20 for all the latest. Until then, take care.
عذرا بيروت.